Welcome to another episode of the Positively Insane Podcast with your host and spirit guide, Kevin Alexander.
What's up, guys? I'm fucking back. I know it's been a quick minute. Been about a month and a half since I've dropped an episode. Apologize about that. And I want to give a shout out to everyone who's been listening and following the show. I really appreciate the feedback that I get back from you guys. It's super awesome and really makes me feel like I'm doing something worth doing, you know what I mean? But I had to take some time off and kind of just get my head sorted out. I had a few things going on that I needed to take care of, and I was kind of avoiding taking care of them and putting them off. It's a bad habit I have, putting off things that I don't want to take care of when I know I should take care of them, and until it builds and builds, and then it gets to a point where it's like now things are way worse than they would have been if I had just taken care of the shit when I was supposed to. And then because of that, you put it off, or at least I do, put it off even longer until it just becomes this big thing. And in reality, you know, if you just fucking take care of whatever it is, just call the person you need to call, pay the thing you need to pay, fucking buy the thing you need to buy, clean the thing you need to clean, just fucking do it. It's so much better for you in the long run. But I ended up switching jobs twice in the last month and a half. I was working at Burger King for about 6-7 months, and I didn't hate the job, but I was getting super depressed. I felt like I was in a dead-end position. I was offered advancement, and I considered it, but I turned it down because I don't want to be a Burger King manager. I don't want to deal with the bullshit, and I just want a job that I can do well, show up, punch in, do my fucking job, do it well, punch out, get the fuck out of there, and then I don't think about that place until I have to go back. I have a phone specifically for work, and people can call me on that and leave a message if it's work related. 99% of the time I'm not going to answer the fucking phone, and I'm not even going to check the messages, because you know that's what happened at Burger King over the summer. Is I got overworked. I worked like a month and a half, no days off for fucking Burger King, and it's like fuck that shit. And so I was getting real depressed about that, and I was like, I don't fucking want to do. This isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life, and been spending a lot of time thinking about what I do want in life and what I need to do to get there and what I'm willing to do to accomplish those things. And so I had to get the fuck out of Burger King. I went to another place. I went to a restaurant, tried that out. It wasn't for me, wasn't my thing. I didn't feel good about it, and I was still super depressed and doing some drinking, and it just didn't feel like a good fit. So I quit that job too, and I quit both of these jobs without any preparation, without any thinking ahead, without any planning, without any money set aside. And I thought it was. I mean, I panicked. I pretty much completely ran out of money. But well, here's the thing. Let me take it back a bit. I was working at Burger King. I quit Burger King once. I completely fucking walked off the job, and it just was not a very good environment. And I want to go more into detail about that, but at the same time, I don't really want to do it right now, because I kind of plan on writing this big thing to some higher up in Burger King, whether it's corporate or what. It's a very toxic environment, and they have a really hard time keeping people, and a big part of it, a majority of it, is the management and how that store is run. And I want to I basically want to send a message to somebody who's higher up, as a former employee, as a former manager in retail, and just give them a heads up on some of the things that they may not be aware of, what's going down in that fucking store, because it sucks to work there. And but I walked off the job once, immediately regretted it, because I was like, what the fuck am I doing, Kevin? You're a fucking moron. You just got your shit together, and here you are walking off the job. And I panicked, got depressed, ran out of money. 3 weeks later, I went back, got my job back, and I did it for another month and a half. And I have managers showing up at my door on my days off to see if they could get me to come to work because I wouldn't answer my phone, which is my fucking right. I don't have to answer my phone. It's not my job to worry about Burger King on my day off. I had a manager come to my door twice. 2 separate managers come to my door on 2 separate occasions. And I had managers claim they wanted to be friends on social media, and then they use the social media as a way to get a hold of me, to get me to come to work. And there's all this extra bullshit. And finally I just had enough. And I didn't walk off the job the second time. I just didn't show up for my next scheduled shift. And like a week later, I got a job at the Perkins here in town. And I just wasn't feeling it. My head was fucked up. And so I quit that. And I panicked again. So this is the 3rd time now that I've quit a job since the summer. And I'm running out of money again. And I keep telling my landlord, you know, he's accepting short payments from me, but it's each month I'm getting further and further in the hole, right? And each month I have to explain to this guy what's going on, and it got overwhelming, and I just shut down. I stopped talking to certain friends. I stopped doing a lot of social media shit, and I realized I needed to fucking buckle down and figure this shit out, and figure out a long-term plan as well as a few short-term plans or short-term goals, because I have to do something, otherwise I'm going to go out of my fucking mind. And this episode marks the 1-year anniversary of when I started this show, and I haven't gotten as far with this show as I would like. I haven't done as much with it as I would have liked, and I haven't hit the target audience, or you know, I haven't gotten as many listeners as I would have hoped. But this is the only project that I have started and continued to work on for an entire year. I keep coming back to it, and every time I come back to it, I come back with more ideas, a better vision, an overall vision for the show. And you know, I've gotten over 20 hours of mic time logged in the last year, if you count the 25 15-minute episodes. And then this I believe this is episode 15 of the relaunch. But some of these episodes, if you've been following, are 2, 3, and 4 part, 2 or 3 segments per episode, 45-minute segments. So, you know, one of these episodes, like I think episode 13 or 14, you know, it's got like 3 45-minute parts. So that's an hour and a half. No, that's fucking Jesus Christ, Kevin. Learn how to add. That's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Is that what that is? 45 and 45, that's an hour and a half, plus another 45. Yeah, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I've got over 20 hours of mic time, which is incredibly important. Just the practice on the fucking microphone and getting comfortable with the talking has been probably the biggest thing in this last year that I'm taking away from the podcast so far, is I've put in a lot of practice. And this podcast is free, and it'll always be free. But I've been spending a long time over the last month and a half thinking about, like I said, what the fuck do I want to do in life? And I spent the last 3 weeks really considering college. I'm 33 years old, and I got to do something. And I looked up the various courses that a few of the colleges offer that I was interested in. And I just saw a big commitment, a lot of time and effort, dedication, a minimum of 2 years, probably 4 or more, depending on what I want. Like, I have a huge interest in psychology, but to get into a career in the field of psychology that I am passionate about, that I would like to do, I mean, I'm looking at 6 to 10 years of school. Like, fuck. If I had started that right out of high school, great. You know, I'd be at a point now where I could start my own private practice and work with the people and work in the specific field within psychology that I have a passion for. And so I've just been thinking, fuck college, because none of the shit that I saw was anything that I truly felt that I want to spend the rest of my life doing that. I don't want to spend the rest of my life working at Burger King. I'm working at a gas station now. You know, these are dead-end jobs. But I'm able to pay my rent, have some fucking food, and have a little bit of money left over to do whatever with. And like, I've come a long way in the last year. When I started this show last December of 2016, I was technically still homeless. And I guess I mean, if I count the time that I spent living with other people, couch surfing, staying with family or friends, I spent the better part of 7 years homeless. Sometimes I was helping pay bills, sometimes I wasn't. The majority of that time I wasn't. The majority of the time I was pretty lost. I had given up on a lot of things. I couldn't find it in me to get a fucking job, to keep a fucking job. And that whole time I just spent dreaming of what life would be like if I just stumbled upon that magic idea. You know, what if I actually wrote that fucking book, or recorded that album, or made that documentary? If I could just think of this one passion project that I can pull out of my ass, do really well, and it'll get successful, and it'll make me some fucking money, and then I can launch a career doing that, and that can be my life, and I no longer have to work at a gas station or Burger King or any of this bullshit, and I can work for myself and do something I love doing. And I spent years thinking about story ideas. I mean, I've got a notebook full of story ideas, novel ideas, short story ideas, film ideas, TV ideas. I've got an entire notebook full of ideas. Some are good, some are shit, some have potential, and others I have no idea, because I haven't fully fleshed all of them out. They're just an idea that came to me in a dream or while I was at work, and I jotted it down and cataloged it and saved it for later. And so many times I thought I was going to sit down and write a novel, and I just didn't do it, because again, it's another huge commitment to time. You spend a year writing and editing a book, you put your life into it, and then you send it out there, and you hope like hell it gets picked up somewhere. And if you're lucky, it gets picked up. And then if you're super lucky, you know, maybe you get not a grant, but you get like a fucking, what the fuck is it called when somebody basically they give you a chunk of money. They're investing, it's your own money, you have to pay it back initially out of sales of the books or whatever, but they give you 10 grand, like, all right, write your next book, it's got to be done by this such and such time, and I guess in advance, there you go, in advance. And that was a dream that I had for a long time, is like, just fucking get something written, try and get in advance, and then take that advance and pay rent for like 6 months, and then just fucking spend 6 months working on the next book. And I never got the steam. I couldn't force myself to do it and sit down and spend all of my free time writing a book, because I got so many different ideas to go through my head. Fucking by the time I sit down and start writing one, I'm thinking about a different one. My creative process is all over the place, and I have such a hard time staying focused, like I said in this episode already. And so during these years of homelessness, you know, I'm constantly dreaming and not acting on anything. And, you know, when I started this podcast last December, I was illegally squatting in a house that other family members of mine had been evicted from. And the landlord just, every time he came by to check or knock on the door, I would hide. I mean, I hid in the attic of that house for probably 3 weeks. And I told him I was kind of cleaning it up and shit like that, but I was actually living there. Because I had somewhere to go, but I didn't want to go there. Because it was a coworker of a family member's, a previous coworker of mine, somebody I didn't know very well, somebody I quite honestly didn't like very well or very much, and I knew the living situation at her house with her boyfriend and her pets was just gonna suck. It was just gonna suck. I had already spent, 8 months living with somebody else, and it went sour, and because it was all my fault. I was being a complete piece of shit leech, and I just fucking couldn't get my head straight. I was doing a lot of drugs and shit like that, and so I started this podcast kind of just to as a passion project, something fun to do, something creative to do, and to just get my thoughts out there. I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to motivate people. I wanted to reach people who were like me and show them, hey, man, no matter how shitty things are, no matter where you are in life, no matter how many times you have fucked up, I've done it too. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel if you're willing to look for it, if you're willing to fight for it. And so the whole basis of this show was really to inspire, motivate, make people laugh. And after fucking probably 15-minute episodes, I completely went off the rails and just started talking about anything and everything. And it eventually progressed into somewhat of an audio diary. And I've lost focus a few times with this show and where I wanted it to go and what I wanted to do with it. And this has really been an ever-changing project. And now it's at a point where I pretty much just, this is going to be the thing that I do. I'll just talk about whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? No categories, no limits. Some shit's going to be funny, some shit's not. Some shit's going to be serious. I'm going to start incorporating current events, talk about some weird, crazy shit or my take on things. I'll probably start doing some, like reviews, music reviews, book reviews, and shit like that. those are all things that I want to do with this show specifically. And like I said, this show is free and it's always going to be free, and I don't ever expect to make any money from this. But back to what I was originally getting at, is finding something that I can do creatively, something that I can create, that I can potentially turn into at least a side hustle. You know, get some extra money coming in. Honestly, just a few $100s a month would make such a huge difference for me at the point that I'm at in life right now. Like I said, I'm working a job. It covers my rent, it covers my food and my phone. But after that, I'm just a dude chilling in a shitty studio apartment. And when I mean shitty studio apartment, I mean shitty. This place is a dump. It's a fucking dump. The neighbors are sketchy. I don't enjoy living here. This is not a cool place to be. But that's where I'm at. I don't have any furniture. I could have had furniture. So like, I'm not trying to make people feel sorry for me. Money I could have spent on furniture ended up getting spent on other things. So a lot of this has been by choice. I chose not to buy that fucking couch when I could have afforded it. So that's that. But what I keep coming back to is podcasting. And it's something that I've been passionate about for years, still passionate about it. I have my own show. I've been working on it progressively over the last year. It's something that I haven't given up on, and that's proven a lot to me. And I want to be more consistent with the content I put out. I want to start, doing one episode a week. I was doing more than that before, but this isn't going to be my main focus for the next year or two. This is going to be, like a once a week thing. Just a 45-minute episode. I'll still have guests on from time to time if I can find somebody I feel is interesting, wants to be on the show. And like I said, I'll do, like some review things here and there. But the projects that I really spent the last month and a half thinking about are podcast related. And like I in previous episodes, I've talked a lot about how much I love music, audiobooks, and podcasts. Those are my three main interests in life at this point. And you already know that I have all these story ideas, and that I would love to do some writing and do something with my writing. But everything I've thought of so far, I keep hitting a brick wall. The end game is just too far away when it comes to the writing. So I started thinking a lot about just writing my short stories, and once I collected enough of them, maybe put them together into a book, kind of like Stephen King did with his short stories. And so I was kind of thinking about that. I was like, I'm definitely going to start writing the short stories because I want to write. I just don't know what I want to do with them. And so I was like, well, why the fuck don't I do a podcast, like an audiobook style podcast where I write these stories, I read or perform them, and now you have a story that could be anywhere from an hour and a half long, which in my mind I like to call those audio movies. You know what I mean? It's like the same amount of time you would invest in a movie, but it's an audio play or whatever. So you could have those one and done, hour and a half or more. They could be 2, 3, 4 hours in length, but it's a one and done story. And I'll write it up. I fucking record the audio, put it together, and then I fucking release it, and then ask for like $1 You know what I mean? Like, ask for like $1 per episode. You know, and it's I feel like that's a pretty fair exchange with the amount of time and effort put into the product. I try to make it as good as possible, and then put it out there and ask for just $1. You know, Dan Carlin said recently that when it comes to podcasting, basically your competition is piracy. So I'm not trying to get rich doing this shit, but I'm trying to think of things that I can do that I'm already doing, that I'm already passionate about, that I can incorporate other passions of mine into, put it together, create a finished product that somebody will pay for. Just $1. You know, $1 per. And also have a thing on the side that if anybody wants to, you know, donate, you know, collect donations and shit like that, and the money donated and all the money earned from the podcast or from, you know, these episodes would go into making the show better, buying better equipment, and then after that, you know, whatever, if I got money coming in, I could use that to buy a fucking couch maybe, or, you know, after a year or two, if things are going well, I'm still working my job, but I got this extra money coming on the side, you know, maybe I can afford to fucking elevate myself a little bit, move out of this shithole and into a better apartment, things like that. And I've got two ideas, two show ideas that that I'm trying to put together, trying to flesh out, that I've spent the last month and a half working on. The one, like I said, is going to be specifically for things that I have written, stories that I have written, and, you know, there's going to be short stories on there, but also I have a few ideas that I want to develop into. It's basically going to be like a season of television, or like a kind of like Stranger Things. The first season of Stranger Things had 6 episodes, right? So it could be like a 6-episode mini-series where I'll have this story written out, and then I'll split it up into episodes like a television series. I'll release episode 1 and then fucking episode 2 the month after that, or something like that, where you're literally getting I hate to keep saying it over and over again, but it's like a season of television, but audiobook style. And I think there is some interesting shit that can be done with that concept. I'm sure it's already been done. You know, I'm not saying these are completely original ideas, but these are things that I'm putting together in my head that I'm like, hey, that's interesting. If I have the money, I would pay for that. Or I would donate, you know, to somebody who's doing that. Because one of the things that's really cool about podcasting is it puts you directly in touch with the people. I guess I shouldn't say in touch, but it puts you directly, you know who's giving you the content, and you know exactly, I mean, you know who you're helping if you pay for that content. You know, it's not like going to Walmart and buying a CD and there's all this shit between the artist and the consumer. Here with podcasting, it's like, no, man, here I am. Here's who I am. Here's where I'm at in life. This is my story. This is what I'm doing, and this is what you can help me accomplish if you pay for this product. If it's something that you enjoy, obviously, I don't want you to waste your money on something if you don't like it. And for each episode I do, or for each one and done story that I do, like I'll record like a 45-second long audio trailer, kind of like a movie trailer. You go to YouTube, you check out these movie trailers, see what, hey, that movie fucking looks good, we're gonna go watch that. But I'll do audiobook trailers. It's like, so this is what you're gonna get in this particular episode. You know, do you want it or not? You don't have to just buy it and hope it's going to be something you're interested in. You can check out that trailer and be like, hey, that's interesting. What is it, 3.5, 4 hours long? Yeah, I'll fucking pay $1 for that. Fuck yeah, let's see it. Let's check it out. Especially when I start doing like the television series type things, I think I got a few ideas I think are going to be really fun to work with in that whole kind of thing. The other podcast idea that I had is very heavily influenced by Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, because that's the first and only podcast that I've listened to it's not a conversation, like the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. He sits down, he has a conversation with people, and it's not just a guy talking about whatever the fuck's going through his head, or things that he saw, telling stories about his life, or talking about whatever random topic. No, the Hardcore History, what he does is he finds key moments in history. Usually they're related to military history, like World War II, World War I, the Roman Empire, all that shit. He finds interesting stories in history, and then he brings it to life. He does research, he reads a bunch of books, and he gets all of his facts together as best as he can, because he's not a historian, he's just a fan of history. He loves history. So he finds these unique moments in history, he gets all the information he needs, and then I'm assuming he writes it, like he writes a script out for each episode. That's what I'm assuming, because the way he conveys the information is so good. Like, it's he doesn't confuse you or overwhelm you with information. It's like you're listening to a story from the beginning to the end, and he puts all the information in all the right places, so you understand what's going on at any given moment. And he does a really good job of putting the listener in that scenario. It's like you can almost smell what it's like to stand on the battlefield in ancient Rome while 90,000 Roman soldiers are being slaughtered. You're standing, and I want to say the last episode I listened to, he had a line, something about they estimated it was an estimated 30,000 gallons of blood that the battlefield was soaked in by the time this was. 30,000 gallons of blood. You're just standing in a battlefield full of 90,000 people dead, your fellow soldiers, and you're standing in 30,000 gallons of blood. And it's like he adds all of these details that you don't get in a history book, that you wouldn't get in a documentary. He brings it to life, and I love what he's doing, and I want to take his approach to history and focus it on something that, I love history, but not enough to do what he's doing, to find all these things in history and then fucking do all that research and then bring it to life and then all that. But I love his approach to the show and how he does it. Like, it's very interesting, and I have an interest or a passion for like true crime, serial killers, fucking child killers, child murderers, children who kill. I'm very interested in the psychology of that's involved in murder and suicide, unsolved mystery type things, and I want to take, because there's so much content out there when it comes to true crime and serial killers and shit like that. There's so much good content out there, and I know true crime podcasts already exist. I haven't listened to any of them. I don't know if they just talk about true crime or if they do what the Dan Carlin, I don't know if they give the Dan Carlin treatment, which is what I want to do. I want to take a particular case that I find riveting. It's just like every time I hear about this particular case, it sucks me into it, and I want to talk to somebody about it. I want to do the research, read a few books. I'm not going to be... I want to convey the facts. I want to make sure the facts are accurate, and but I'm not going to be super fucking strict about it either. You know what I mean? Like, I'll read some books, I'll do some research online, and I'll get all the information that I feel is pertinent to the story, and then I want to tell the story from the very beginning to the very end. And this could go. The story could begin a year before the murders happen, right? And I'll tell you about the shit that was going on in the lives of the people that are involved in the story, how things built up to the way they built up, the murders or whatever the fuck happens. Describe all of that as it's going along, putting in the psychology, here and there, explaining what it's like, as the dude who's going through murdering his family, what must be going through his head, shit like that. And then, explain from the perspectives of the victims. If there are any surviving victims, imagine what it's like to have been a 7-year-old kid whose family was completely slaughtered, and then you have to go, somehow figure out how to make it so you can live the rest of your life with this shit inside your head and stuff like that, and even all the way up through the court process, the trial, if there was a trial and shit like that, and there's so much in just one case to work with that I could end up with a finished product that could end up being 4 hours long. And if I do it even half as good as Dan Carlin does the hardcore history, I think that's something people would be willing to pay for. And now Dan Carlin, again, I'm getting inspiration from him because he does that. He calls it the buck a show, where he's basically asking $1 per episode, and I think it's worth it. If especially for his show, he does a really good job. I mean, he's so much more professional as a broadcaster than I am or ever will be. I mean, he used to do fucking talk radio back in the day. I mean, he's really good at what he does. But I don't think I have to be as good of a podcaster as him to ask what he's asking of the audience. And here's something I worked really hard on for the last month to 2 months. Here's a 4-hour long product that I have dedicated all of my free time to putting together for your entertainment. I don't think $1 is too much to ask for that. And after a year or two of really fucking doing this and getting better with each one and making sure that the topics I'm picking are entertaining and good, shit, man, I hate to think too big. I hate to dream too high and then have it all come tumbling down, right? So I'm thinking very small, man. Like if a year from now, if I could make $250 a month, I would consider that super successful after 1 year. And then if I could turn that $250 a month into $500 to $1,000 with another year or two after that, I am not even putting goals higher than that. That's already my top goal right there. $1,000 a month. That's doubling what I make right now. That's doubling my personal income, and that would drastically change my life. I don't think that's too big of a dream. I don't think that's too big of a thing, and I think it's within my ability to do, and it's really just a matter of which one do I run with first. The show where I write the stories, the audiobook style show, that one is something that I'm doing or would do with my brother. because I would work with him a lot on the stories themselves. And because of that, because my brother will kind of be helping in the writing process or in the idea process, if I choose that show to run with first, I will have myself and him investing our personal, like, I'll have an additional person investing their personal money into, you know, the equipment required, or, you know, the fucking advertising, Facebook advertising, merchandise, whatever. I will have that additional person to work with, at least on the idea side, as far as the putting it all together, as far as it actually being physically written, and as far as recording everything and promoting everything. That's all going to be on me, but I'll have one person, an additional person, helping me with the ideas and potentially investing money. And it's something I'd get to do with my brother, which is cool. I personally have more confidence in the true crime show because I don't have to write any of that shit. I mean, I do. I have to do all the research. I have to put it all together. I have to write it down, you know, on my laptop, and, you know, so it's all clear and concise, and, you know, I'm not just rambling or running off the top of my head. But that's all real life. That's all reality. I can just take a subject that's already interesting as fuck, put all the facts together, put my spin on it, write it down, fucking record it, and put it out there. I have more confidence in that idea because it requires less of me creatively, but I'm really excited about the audiobook idea because it allows me to actually get some fucking writing done for real and put it out there for people to consume without having to go through all the bullshit of trying to get somebody to publish a book or get somebody to pick up a script. You know, it's like, no, I got the idea, I wrote it down, I performed it, here it is. Here's your fucking audio movie, or your short story, or your audio book, or your fucking 8-episode or 10-episode season audio of audio television, whatever the fuck you would call that, right? So I don't know, I got both of these things, and one of them is going to take priority over the next year, and I'm going to focus on that really hard for the next year. I'll still be doing the Positively Insane podcast, but it's only going to be like once a month or once a week, and I'm not going to devote any more money to this podcast, and I'm going to use this as a tool to kind of promote other projects. But yeah, man, but this is my free show. I can't quit on this one. I can't just give up. I've already got a year into it, and I would really like to see where this show goes just on its own. But I'm really excited for these other show ideas that I've got jumping around in my head, because for the first time in a long time, I feel like I have a solid plan that I can turn my passions into profit. And that's really been my main goal for the last 7 or 8 years. And it's like, fuck it, man. What else am I waiting for? If I was going to go to college, if I was going to put that much time and energy into college to get with a fucking business degree or some shit, why don't I put that same time and energy into something I love doing, that I'm already doing, and try to make money with it? So that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at with podcasting in general. It's where I'm at in my personal life, and I'm excited for what this shit can turn into, man. But that's that. Fucking stay tuned. If you don't follow me on Facebook, follow me, Positively Insane Podcast. You can get me on Twitter, Positively IPC. On YouTube, again, Positively Insane Podcast. You guys know the drill. Give me a subscription, give me a like, give me a follow. Hit me up.